My name is Lauren Flanagan. The weekend of October 4th, I spent my first weekend at Variety Club Camp. They offer many different things, but specifically I went to what is referred to as the weekend retreats. These retreats offer opportunities for kids with disabilities of all different types to come in and have a great weekend with the counselors, volunteers, and just have fun. This is my experience. One of the first activities we did was painting pumpkins. Since this was the October retreat, we focused a lot on Halloween, trick-or-treating, stuff like that. And instead of carving pumpkins, we chose to give the kids paint and stickers to decorate their pumpkins. Not everyone would do it, so there's also side activities to do, but I thought it was a really cool idea. I just don't know if it was executed as well as it sounded. A lot of the kids got more paint on them than they did on the pumpkins, but it was still really fun to see, and a lot of them were excited to bring them home to show their parents. One adapted activity that I thought was really cool that I never really thought about before was musical chairs. They buddied up with either a counselor or a volunteer, and the volunteer or counselor would push them around the circle and then sit, and you'd be in, and if you didn't get a chair, you'd be out. Or another way they did it was just the counselors would walk around and they'd sit in, and then the people in wheelchairs would have to roll around and kind of either fist bump them or tag that person to indicate that that's the seat they wanted. During our weekend retreat, we decided to go swimming at the indoor YMCA at the Ambler campus. And getting there and getting them dressed and into the right side of the pool and all that was a little hectic. But once we were there, it was really awesome to see a lot of the kids who don't have great strength or mobility have that freedom in the pool. There was no adaptive equipment per se that helped them stay afloat other than us counselors helping them out or holding them. Plus it was a shallow end, so it wasn't totally necessary, but it was just a really awesome activity that I think the camp chose to do. For about 2 hours one day, we went up to a gym and had a bunch of different activities the kids could choose to do. One of them was bowling. It was sort of on the side of the gym, but very simple adaptations were made to help the kids bowl. We used a lighter foam ball for one, in case kids didn't have the strength to roll the other one or throw the other one. Especially kids in wheelchairs that didn't have a great range of motion could sort of toss the ball instead of having to get that rotation around or roll it underneath of them. The pins were a lot lighter, so they were easier to knock down. We didn't play full games to keep everyone's attention and interest. Each person would roll twice or until they knocked all the pins down, and then we would switch. There was a lot of observations I made throughout the week, especially pertaining to certain kids. Each kid, each disability, I learned something from all of them. I observed something from all of them. One example was Matthew. He had Down syndrome, and my cousin Michael has Down syndrome, so I instantly thought of him and thinking I was going to interact the same way and all these things. And when I first got there, he was in this wheelchair, and he didn't really get out a lot, so he also didn't talk that much, so I just assumed he wasn't very high-functioning. But then I realized later, he could get out once we went to the pool, and he was great at swimming, and he ran around all the time. And then later I saw him in the chair, so I got him out and let him play, and then I realized that maybe the reason he's always in his chair is because he's kind of bad when he's out. He liked to throw chairs and throw things and laugh kind of evilly, but it was cute. But the biggest things I learned from this was never ever assume a kid is not able to do something just based on what you're observing. And I know we learned that in class, but it's one thing to remember it when you're out with people, especially when the kid wasn't afforded the opportunity to do so. I think that's another huge thing, is to make sure every kid is afforded the opportunities. Sebi was very cute. He's this little guy, the cutest thing, and he woke me up every morning because he would wake up at 5 or 6, turn on the lights, and just kind of sit on the place I was sleeping and just stare at me till I got up. But the biggest thing I learned about him, from him, was to learn to communicate with the kids, be patient. Specifically one time for breakfast, he kept trying to run back in the kitchen where the kids aren't allowed, get candy, get freeze pops. Everyone just kept yelling at him. The head counselor at one point was just like, what do you want, what do you want? He was just kind of screaming these 2 words that sounded like eatin', eatin'. And then I was thinking about last night for dinner, and for lunch all the kid ate was chicken tenders. So I was like, it's breakfast time. I don't think he's eating anything besides candy. Maybe he wants some chicken, eatin', chicken, kind of the same thing. And sure enough, that's all he wanted. He was just hungry. And learning to communicate with them, getting to know the kids so they trust you and want to communicate with you too, I think is one of the most important things that I've observed from the weekend. One of the campers' names was Simon. He really liked to take his shirt off every single chance he got, take everyone else's water and drink it or spill it on the floor, but I don't think he did it out of spite of anything. I think he was just uncomfortable with a lot of things, and that's the way he reacted. One of my biggest questions after this experience and class in general is just, what role do you take? What's the best way to teach a kid that they shouldn't be taking their clothes off or laying on the floor? Because there's that fine line between they're doing this because they're uncomfortable. Like, if anyone else was that uncomfortable, you would do anything to alleviate that, and just what the best way to teach a kid how to behave in public but still be accepting of that disability that they have and accommodate that.
The best part of camp was seeing all the kids happy. They all seemed to have a great time, and watching them interact with each other was really cool as well. And all the adaptive activities we did over the weekend, all the kids were supportive and encouraging of each other. They would root their friends on and commend them on a good job, whether physically saying or signifying with a thumbs up and a smile. Positive attitudes that the activities brought out in the kids really showcased the impact programs such as Variety Club have on the well-being for kids with disabilities.